Howdy, NB fam. How's everyone doing? Today, I got out for a ride on the 1978 Honda CB750, and if you notice, the video quality is a lot better than before. That's because this is with the GoPro Hero8, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. One thing I've noticed, it captures a bit of a different angle, I guess you would say, especially from top to bottom compared to the Hero 2. And I tried doing a ride earlier, and mostly I just recorded the gas tank of the bike. But no, I was super happy with the quality in this video, so I think this is how I'm going to do them from now on. I'm just recording at 1080p. I didn't bother trying to do anything in 4K, especially with this much motion. I figured the 60 frames per second would be smoother looking than the 30. But yeah, so today this is a ride, sort of a sunset ride or just pre-sunset ride through Rosse and Quispamsis along the Kennebecasis River. I'll try and cut out the real boring parts, but it's just pretty ride. One thing I did earlier today is I was wrenching a little bit on the bike, just trying to get the mirrors fixed. They were blowing. Both mirrors tend to blow around when you get on the highway, and they're not adjustable mirrors. Those are fixed position mirrors. But what I did wrong on the right-hand mirror is I fixed it standing on the bike, like with my feet flat on the ground, maybe kind of in the center stand position, if you know what I mean. But what you don't realize is that with your feet up, you're actually leaning quite a bit forward on this bike. It's not like a modern sports bike, but the seating position is definitely knees in front of feet. And so when I was riding, I noticed that my mirror is mostly looking at my own arm. And I really have to like move my head around to see anything in the right-hand mirror. The left one worked out okay. I can't quite explain it, to be honest. This is coming up past my old high school, KVHS, and actually we're not quite there yet. We're at the Quispam Middle School area. Man, it was a pretty day for a drive, but it's bitter cold. I don't know about your part of the world. We're on the east coast of Canada. This is New Brunswick that you're looking at, by the way, and May 13th, and it was 3 degrees. We woke up this morning, and believe it or not, there were about 3 inches of snow on the ground. But it did warm up in the afternoon. It all melted, thankfully, so I was able to get out for a ride. I've been finding motorcycles have been my absolute escape during the pandemic. I get really frustrated. I don't know about you guys. It's my work, our volumes have been around 30%. This week, I guess we're up to about 50%, which is good, but I'm worried about finances, obviously, as is everyone. I'm not alone in that boat, but worried about that. I'm not a teacher, and homeschooling is tough. Jack is a sweet kid, but it's just the things that every kid gets into at that age, but it's amplified lately. It's the screen time and the sort of unwillingness to see your parents as a teacher, and I understand that, but man, it can be pretty frustrating. Anyway, but motorcycles, like I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos of motorcycles, motorcycle reviews. Just that's always been sort of what I go to when you're feeling some mental anguish. It really does kind of, it's very therapeutic anyway for me. I won't say cathartic. In medicine, cathartic means it makes you take a dump. Look at that. I actually did some editing. It's amazing. These videos are super long. I apologize for that. But what happens is I don't imagine many people are watching the whole thing. People might want to see what it's like to ride a 78 CB750, and they tune in for a couple minutes. But I like to make it almost like story time. Just share my thoughts. This is the Gondola Point Arterial that we're on, this highway here. and it connects to a ferry that goes to the Kingston Peninsula. And if you're visiting New Brunswick, assuming that this friggin' pandemic ends at some point and we can visit one another again, take this all the way down. I don't do it today because it was actually really cold. I knew I was in trouble at this point. I'm wearing full gear, but I was freezing. Take this road all the way down, and you get to the ferry. Turn right off the bottom of the ferry, and all the farmers markets and stuff are to the right. They're only open on Saturday though, and only like up till Christmas, and then I think they're closed for the winter. Still, awesome ride. This road is actually in pretty good shape for New Brunswick, but the ones on the peninsula are hit or miss. They're usually actually a little bit bad, so do be careful if you're riding over there, because nobody checks the speed limits. People tend to ride a little bit fast, but the roads are often covered in sand and dirt and stuff like that, and lots of potholes and lots of deer and occasional moose as well. I saw some deer earlier riding, but the video only filmed my gas tank. There might be one or two on this ride. I can't remember. You know, it's funny. I was reviewing the Stephen King book, the new one, If It Bleeds, on the video yesterday or the day before, and I forgot to mention that there's a fourth part of that book. I got really into the Holly Gibney story. I really liked the Mr. Mercedes series. I was so... You know, it was really quite a blow when, I don't want to give it away, but one of the main characters gets pancreatic cancer, and it's terminal, and my dad was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer when that book came out. And there was a Dan Brown book that came out at the same time, and that had a main character with pancreatic cancer in it, and it was just like a little bit overwhelming, I think, for Dad, because he was a big avid reader, and he was a big Stephen King reader. But you know, he took it all in stride. He was no wuss. Yeah, the fourth part of that book anyway is called The Rat, and again, sort of classic Stephen King. It's a little bit supernatural. It's about a writer. I don't think it's about an alcoholic. I can't remember. That's usually his characters. But no, it was good. It was good too. I can't give you a really in-depth review of that part of the book because it was more just like a classic Stephen King novella or short story, really. Sort of between short story and novella. One thing that's interesting, I decided to publish one of my own books. I said I will never self-publish anything. If it's not good enough to be published by a publisher, I'm not going to pursue it. That was always my take on it. And then, I don't know, the pandemic happened. I realized that my books are never going to be published by a publisher. I like one book that I wrote in the Company of Carnivores actually won an award at the Writers' Federation of New Brunswick, which isn't a huge deal, but it was a big deal to me because that was the only thing I submitted it to. And so I took that award and tried to sort of leverage that into just getting a small publisher to take it on, just so I could say I was a published author. I've had some short stories published, but I wanted a novel published. But no bites. You know, it's damn near impossible, to be honest. But that's not the one. So I wrote another book called Grantrepreneurs, and there's a funny story about it. I wrote it mostly on my phone, mostly on the toilet. When Dad was sick, I said, I'm not going to use my phone for anything other than writing this book. And I think I wrote it in about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and I'd send him a chapter as soon as I finished it. And it made him laugh. He loved that book, and he had kind of pushed me to try to get it published. But the problem being, the whole premise of the book is it's about a startup in Vancouver that has figured out a formula essentially for exploiting government grants and subsidies, and and every publisher in Canada essentially exploits those same grants and subsidies. Nobody would touch it with a 10-foot pole, even if it was Hemingway level good, that no one was going to touch it. It's sort of a bit like Douglas Copeland, I suppose, in style anyway. But yeah, Grantrepreneur. So Amazon's reviewing it. I don't know if that means, because I use some celebrity characters, I'm wondering if they will refuse to publish it. If they publish it, you know, it would be hugely appreciated if you guys go on there, pick up a copy. The electronic copy is cheap. I think it's like $4.99, and leave a review on Amazon and see if we can get that one out there. But like I said, I got 5 people watching these videos. This is coming along the Gondola Point Road. You can see the state of the tarmac here is pretty atrocious. You can't go fast on this. There are potholes that could swallow your front wheel if you're not careful. This is a beautiful sort of part of Rothesay. So I really like taking the bike down here. I usually come from the other direction though. I'm usually coming from my mom's house, and I go up this way and then go home this way. But I just thought it was a nice night. Make for some good video. Boy, I love this bike. I'm glad I didn't sell it. I figured out where it's leaking gas. It is the fuel petcock. I can't explain how these things work. I don't know the internal architecture, but presumably, if it's anything like a stopcock in the OR, there's basically a hole that's drilled through the thing, and when you turn the petcock to the on position, the hole lines up and lets fuel go down into the carburetor. But I think what's happening is there must be a grommet that sort of surrounds that piece that's come loose, because whether the petcock is on or off, fuel comes out of the fuel line. Now, I did order a new tank, new to me tank, from a different 78 CB750, I think one that had been wrecked. And the tank is not in perfect shape by any means, but presumably the petcock works on it. So what I'm going to do is, when it arrives, I'll probably spray the inside with WD-40, use up whatever fuel I have in this one, and then swap them out. I don't like leaving a tank without fuel in it, but this one's been plasticized. That's the first thing. And the second thing is it leaks like a sieve, and I don't have a new fuel line. And because of the pandemic, I can't get any parts. I might order one from the CB750. I found this website that just does CB750 parts, and it's actually a Canadian website, which was lucky for me because the shipping's cheaper. Yeah, maybe that would be a good idea. Buy a fuel line and then clamp it off and leave the tank full. Does that sound smart, or does that sound like leaving a bomb in your garage? Hard to know. Hard to know, Mr. King. I always revert to my main accent when I've been listening to Stephen King audiobooks. Yeah. That's what they're all saying. There was a gigantic dog in this video that we were just looking at the video quality, and my wife noticed it and thought it was a bear or a big deer. It's just a dog. The bike. What can I tell you more about this bike? I've mentioned it before. The ownership experience is kind of funny. It is a smooth riding bike, and it feels old for sure when you ride it. When these were new, they had 67 horsepower. I didn't realize it's a CB750K. I would guess this one still probably makes about 45-50 horsepower, but the in top gear it struggles to rev above 5,000 RPM. It just can't seem to make the power in that top gear, and that's kind of where you need to be. At 4,000 RPM fifth gear, I think you're around 110, and it's tough to get it to go from 110 to 120, 130 to pass a truck on the highway and whatnot. Down low, it's quick. It's not a slow bike by any means. It is a quick bike. It's very comfortable. And one thing I'd been thinking about was doing a short video just talking about beginner bikes, right? Like that seems to be Seems to be a popular topic. I don't want to do any clickbaity stuff, but I have been riding bikes for, 30 years. So I do have maybe some valuable input on that. One of the things that people never mention when they're talking about beginner bikes, and most of them talk about just buying a new bike. Don't buy a new bike. Are you crazy? Just buy something used. It's as soon as you drive a new bike off the lot, you've taken off 25-30% of its value instantly. And a beginner bike, you're only, now it's funny I'm saying this. Most people only keep their beginner bike for a year or two, but I still have the bike I learned how to ride on. It's that XR80 in Shediac, and I still ride it. So maybe don't listen to what I'm saying at all. But maybe I will do one of those sort of options for beginners. One thing, I'm not obviously super into video editing. I don't like doing a whole bunch of cuts. And I do like the motovlog videos where people talk into a microphone that's on their helmet. And I have some of the stuff I would need to do that. But to me, I'd almost rather have it narrated like this. You can hear the bike a little bit in the background usually. I'm going to stop here and just... oh no, never mind. No editing for you guys. Yeah, so anyway, Grantrepreneurs. That's the book. Check it out. I should talk about fitness a little bit since this is the motorcycle and my weight loss channel. The Help Jake Lose Weight channel. I had crept up a little bit and it was back down today. I doubt it'll be down tomorrow. I haven't really gone nuts or screwed up or anything, but maybe had a few more calories than I should have for lunch. I had a late lunch, and the supper was delicious. We had steak and vegetables and salad. I haven't had a steak in, I would say, since February, and it's now May, and it's my standard staple food. But of course, in Canada, a bunch of the Alberta meat packer plants were shut down. Here we're coming out along the old Rossay Road, I believe it's called. And what I'll do, we're going to go down to the Renforth Wharf, which is sort of a beautiful spot, and you can see the Kennebecasis River from there. And I'll probably stop the video there. You don't need to see the drive back. These videos are long enough, and I really don't have a whole lot to say today. It's been a little bit of a mentally tough day. The bike ride was bliss, but I came home and it was just more family drama. I love my family. That's everything to me. I hate when they're not happy. But Jack's going to bed right now, and I have time to do this real monotone monologue narration of this video. One thing you could listen to, if you like stuff that's a little more humorous. Okay, Grantrepreneurs. Definitely get that book. It's very funny. I'm very proud of it. And then my brother and I shouldn't even say the name of the podcast. We do a podcast that's quite funny as well. But it's so politically incorrect. I'm not going to... maybe we'll talk about it one day. That's a monument for... there was a famous rowing race here. I can't even remember what it was called. I'm becoming really forgetful. I can still drive and everything, but I am becoming forgetful. There was the crew was called the Paris Crew. It used to be a part of our heritage commercial. In Canada, we used to have commercials back before our Prime Minister didn't believe that we were our own nation. We used to have commercials to try and teach people some Canadian history, because most of what you get on TV is frankly American, and a lot of us know more American history than Canadian history. I think it was cool that they had these part of our heritage commercials to try and teach us all at least the basics of Canadian history. But Yeah, one of them was about the Paris crew, but I don't remember any famous quotes from it. The other one, oh, there were so many. There's one about the Inuit, and it's like the guy builds in a nuktuk, and he says, "Now the people will know we were here." Everybody knows that line. Was that racist that I did it in his accent? Sorry. It's just how he says it in the video. Oh, there's the one James Naismith where he invents basketball, and he borrows peach baskets from the janitor, and the janitor's like, he cuts holes in the bottom, so the janitor says, "But I needed those peach baskets back." Everyone knows that line too. This is the Renforth Wharf. It's underwater at the moment. There's a lot of snowpack up north still that's still kind of melting, and we've had a lot of rain and snow. Anyway, I think we'll probably wrap her up around here. We'll go by the rowing club. I used to coach at the rowing club, and I was actually I was a really competitive rower. I loved rowing. And the rowing club's on your right here. This is the Bill McGuire Community Center. You don't actually see the rowing club, you just see the tennis courts. But it is down there by the river. And Jack's here to say something to me, so I'm gonna leave you at the baseball field here. I'll see you later.